The war room was silent except for the hum of machines. Commander Tay stood with his hands behind his back, staring at the 3 holographic screens floating in front of him. Each screen showed the same terrible truth in different colors and numbers. 0.0 chance of survival. Lieutenant Hay-1 stood beside him, her face pale in the blue light of the displays. She had run the calculations 17 times. Every time, the answer came back the same. The Galactic Council's quantum computers were the most advanced in known space. They could predict the outcome of battles before the first shot was fired. And right now, they predicted total human extinction. "Show me the enemy fleet again," Tay said quietly. Hay-1 touched the control panel. The middle screen changed to show a massive formation of alien warships. 847 vessels, each one larger than Earth's biggest battleship. The Veskari Empire had conquered 17 star systems in just 3 years. No one had ever defeated them in battle. No one had even come close. "They will arrive in 72 hours, Hay-1 said. Her voice was steady, but Tay could hear the fear underneath. Their weapons can crack a planet in half. Their shields can absorb anything we throw at them. Commander, the numbers don't lie." Tay nodded slowly. He had been a military officer for 20 years. He understood numbers. He respected them. But he also knew something the quantum computers did not account for. Humans were very bad at accepting defeat. The door to the war room slid open. Ambassador Quilks entered, his long serpentine body moving in smooth curves across the floor. The alien scales shimmered green and gold under lights. Behind him came 2 council military advisors, both wearing the silver uniforms of the Galactic Defense Force. "Commander Tay," Quilks said, his translator making his hissing voice sound almost human. "Have you reviewed the evacuation plans?" "I have," Tay replied. "Then you understand. There is no shame in this. The Veskari are simply too powerful. We are evacuating all human colonies. Your people will be relocated to protected worlds deeper in Council space. Earth itself will be placed under Council guardianship." Tay turned to face the ambassador. He was a full head shorter than the alien, but he met Quilks's multiple eyes without blinking. "And what happens to our fleet?" "Your ships will escort the evacuation transports," one of the military advisors said. He was a tall being with gray skin and 4 arms. "Once civilians are safe, your fleet will surrender to Veskari authority. This is the only way to prevent total genocide." "The simulations show 0 chance of victory," Quilks added, gesturing at the holographic screens. "Your bravery is noted and respected, Commander. But bravery cannot overcome mathematics. You have 72 hours to begin evacuation." The room fell silent again. Hay-1 looked at Tay, waiting. The advisors looked at Tay, waiting. Quilks looked at Tay, his alien face showing something that might have been pity. Tay studied the displays one more time. He saw the Veskari fleet, massive and unstoppable. He saw the projections of human casualties. He saw the mathematical certainty of defeat written in cold, precise numbers. Then he looked back at Quilks and said one word: "No." The ambassador's scales rippled with what looked like shock. "Excuse me?" "No," Tay repeated, his voice calm and clear. "We will not evacuate. We will not surrender. We will fight." "Commander, perhaps you do not understand." "I understand perfectly." Tay walked to the main display and enlarged the image of the Veskari fleet. "You're right. Your computers are right. In a straight fight, we lose. We lose badly. We lose completely. Then why? Because your computers have never seen humans fight when they have no other choice." Tay turned to Hay-1. "Lieutenant, send a message to all fleet captains. I want a full staff meeting in 1 hour. Include Chief Engineer Wu, Dr. Bura, and Captain Jin." HFY hesitated for just a moment, then saluted. Yes, sir. She moved to a communication console and began entering commands. Quilk slithered forward, his voice rising. This is madness. You will doom your species. The Veskari do not accept surrender after battle begins. If you fight and lose, they will destroy every human world, every colony, every ship, every man, woman, and child. Is that what you want? Tay met the ambassador's eyes. They've already promised to destroy us if we don't surrender. We're dead either way, according to your calculations. So we might as well make them work for it. The Council will not support this suicide mission. I'm not asking for your support, Tay said. I'm telling you what we're going to do. You're welcome to evacuate your own people if you want. But humans are staying. This is our space. These are our colonies. And we don't abandon our homes because someone tells us we can't win. The military advisors looked at each other. One of them spoke, his voice careful. Commander, we respect your courage. But courage is not enough. The Veskari have weapons you cannot imagine. Their smallest fighters carry more firepower than your largest battleships. Their shields have never been breached. They have never lost a battle. Not once in 200 years. Then they're overconfident, Tay said simply. And overconfidence is a weakness. Quilks made a sound like wind through broken glass. It might have been a laugh or a sob. You truly believe you can win? No, Tay admitted. Your computers are probably right. We probably can't win. The math is against us. The technology is against us. Everything is against us. Then why fight? Tay smiled, and it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who had made his choice and would not change his mind. Because sometimes the only way to find out if something is impossible is to try it anyway. Because if we're going to die, we're going to die fighting. And because there's a chance, however small, that your perfect computers missed something. Missed what? Quilks demanded. The fact that humans are really, really stubborn. The ambassador stared at him for a long moment. Then he turned and slithered toward the door. His advisors followed. At the doorway, Quilks paused and looked back. The Council will not help you, he said. But we will not stop you either. Your sacrifice will be remembered. We're not sacrificing anything, Tay called after him. We're fighting. There's a difference. When the door closed behind the aliens, HFY approached Tay. She kept her voice low. Sir, do we actually have a plan? Or are we really just being stubborn? Tay looked at her, and his smile became more genuine. Lieutenant, I have been a soldier my entire adult life. I have studied every major battle in human history. And do you know what I've learned? What, sir? That humans have a very bad habit of winning fights we're supposed to lose. Now let's go figure out how to do it again. The holographic displays continued to show their calculations. 0.0 chance of victory. The numbers had not changed. The math was still the same, but Commander Tay had stopped looking at the numbers. He was looking at something the computers could not calculate. He was looking at the faces of his crew, the determination in their eyes, the set of their jaws. He was thinking about every impossible battle humans had ever won. Every time someone said it could not be done, and humans did it anyway, the Veskari were about to learn something new. They were about to learn that sometimes 0% is just the starting point. The command staff assembled in the war room looked tired. They had been working without sleep for days, trying to prepare for an enemy that everyone said could not be beaten. Chief Engineer Wu was the last to arrive, his uniform stained with grease from working in the engine rooms. He took his seat at the circular table and nodded at Commander Tay. Everyone's here, sir, Lieutenant HFY said. Tay stood at the head of the table. Around him sat his best officers. HFY with her tactical displays. Chief Engineer Wu with his calloused hands and sharp mind. Dr. Burr, the xenotechnology specialist who understood alien systems better than most aliens did. Captain Jin, who led the fighter squadrons and had never backed down from a fight in his life. Let me be clear, Tay began. The Galactic Council is right. In a standard battle, we lose. Their ships are bigger, faster, and more powerful. Their shields are better. Their weapons are stronger. If we line up and trade shots with them, we'll be dead in an hour. Then what do? Jin asked. He was young for a captain, barely 30, but his pilots trusted him completely. We don't fight the battle they expect, Tay said. We fight the battle we choose. He gestured to HFY, who activated the central holographic display. An image appeared, showing Earth's military history. Ancient battles scrolled past. Thermopylae, Agincourt, Midway, Ea, Drang. Dozens of conflicts where smaller forces defeated. Larger ones through tactics and terrain and sheer determination. The Veskari have fought 17 campaigns, Tay continued. They've won every single one. You know why? Because every species they faced fought the same way. Standard formations. Standard tactics. They tried to match the Veskari ship for ship, weapon for weapon. And they lost. Ba'ora leaned forward. She was quiet most of the time, but when she spoke, people listened. You want to fight dirty. I want to fight smart, Tay corrected. The Veskari have studied our tactics. They've watched recordings of our border skirmishes. They think they know how we fight. But they've never seen us when we're desperate. They've never seen us when we have absolutely nothing to lose. Wu grunted. What did you have in mind? Three-pronged attack, Tay said. He looked at Jin. You'll take the fighter wings. 200 ships. I want you to hit them head on. Jin's eyes widened. Sir, that's suicide. Our fighters can't even scratch their shields. I know. That's why you're not trying to damage them. You're trying to blind them. Tay nodded to HFY, who changed the display to show technical specifications. We still have those old mining drones, correct? The ones used for asteroid surveys? HFY checked their datapad. Yes, sir. About 4,000 of them in storage. Reprogram them. I want each drone to emit electromagnetic pulses on rotating frequencies. Jin, your fighters will carry these drones into the Veskari formation and release them. The pulses won't hurt the Veskari, but they'll interfere with their sensors. Understanding dawned on Jin's face. And while they're confused, we hit them with something they've never seen before. Tay turned to Wu and Ba'ora. I need you two to work together. Wu, take 12 of our cargo ships. Strip them down. Remove everything except engines and basic life support. Make them fast. How fast? Wu asked. As fast as you can make them. Then I want you to load them with Dr. Ba'ora's special project. Ba'ora blinked. Sir, that project was abandoned. It's too unstable. Too unpredictable. Tell me about it anyway. Ba'ora stood and walked to the display. She pulled up files marked with warning symbols. 5 years ago, human scientists were working on gravity manipulation. The goal was to create better propulsion systems. What we got instead were gravity collapse missiles. They tear at space-time itself. When detonated, they create temporary rifts that destroy anything nearby. Why were they abandoned? HFY asked. Because they're as dangerous to the user as to the enemy. The rifts don't discriminate. They destroy everything within range. And the range is unpredictable. Sometimes 50 meters, sometimes 500. Sometimes the rift collapses immediately. Sometimes it lasts for several seconds. We couldn't control them, so we stopped development. Tay smiled grimly. The Veskari shields are designed to deflect energy weapons and absorb kinetic impacts. But can they stop something that attacks the fabric of space itself? Beora thought about it. Probably not. Their shield technology has never encountered anything like this. But Commander, the cargo ships carrying these weapons will be destroyed. Whoever flies them won't come back. I know, Tay said quietly. That's why they'll be remotely piloted. No crew, just drones with the explosives. Wu, can you set that up? Wu nodded slowly. It'll take time. Maybe 40 hours. But yes, I can do it. Do it. Tay looked around the table. That's prongs 1 and 2. Jin causes confusion. Wu delivers the knockout punch. But we need a third element. Something to make sure the Veskari don't just pull back and bombard us from long range. They'll want to get close, HFY said. She was studying tactical readouts. The Veskari are proud, aggressive. If we hurt them, they'll want revenge. They'll come after us personally. Good. Then we lead them somewhere we want them to be. Tay changed the display to show New Seoul, the largest human colony in the system. 2 million people live there in domed cities on a cold, mountainous planet. One, you'll coordinate the defense here, but not a traditional defense. He zoomed in on the colony's infrastructure. The cities, the transport tubes, the mining facilities built into the mountains. New Seoul was designed for mining operations. The entire colony is built around massive magnetic accelerators used to launch ore into orbit. What if we repurpose those accelerators? HFY's eyes went wide. She started typing rapidly on her datapad, running calculations. Numbers scrolled across the screen. A planetary-scale railgun network. We could use every major structure as a launch point. If we coordinated the timing. She looked up, excited. Sir, we could fire thousands of kinetic projectiles simultaneously. No energy signature. No warning. Just metal moving at relativistic speeds. How much damage could that do? Jin asked. Against shields designed for energy weapons? Massive damage. The Veskari shields might stop the first few impacts, but thousands of projectiles? HFY shook her head. We could cut their fleet in half, but only if we get them close enough, Beora pointed out. And only if they don't detect the weapons before we fire. That's where the mining drones and confusion come in, Tay said. Jin's attack makes them angry. Wu's missiles make them hurt. And both make them want to come after us personally. We retreat to New Seoul, and they follow. Then HFY springs the trap. The room was silent as everyone absorbed the plan. It was crazy. It was dangerous. It required perfect timing and incredible luck. But it was something. The council will call this insane, Beora said. Let them, Tay replied. We're not fighting for the council. We're fighting for our survival. For our right to exist. For our home. He looked at each of them in turn. I won't order anyone to do this. If you want to evacuate with the council ships, I'll understand. But I'm staying. I'm fighting. Who's with me? Wu stood first. I didn't become an engineer to run away from a fight. Jin stood next. My pilots are ready. We'll deliver those drones. Beora rose from her chair. Someone needs to make sure the gravity missiles actually work. HFY was last. She stood and saluted. We'll make them regret ever hearing the word human, sir. Tay returned the salute. Then we have 72 hours to get ready. The Veskari think we're helpless. They think we're beaten before we start. Let's show them what humans do when someone underestimates us. As the meeting ended and officers hurried to their tasks, HFY stayed behind. Sir, there's still only a small chance this works. The numbers said we had 0 chance before, Tay interrupted gently. Now we have a plan. That's better than zero. Is it enough? Tay looked out the viewport at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, the Veskari fleet was coming. Coming to destroy everything humans had built. Coming to erase humanity from the galaxy. It has to be, he said. The Veskari fleet arrived 6 hours early. Ambassador Quilks's evacuation ships were still loading civilians when the alien warships emerged from faster-than-light travel. They appeared like ghosts materializing from nothing, their massive hulls blocking out the stars. 847 vessels arranged in perfect formation, each one bristling with weapons that could level cities. On the bridge of the Defiant, Commander Tay watched the enemy fleet approach. His crew was silent, their faces lit by the glow of tactical displays. No one spoke. There was nothing left to say. They had worked for 72 hours without rest. The plan was ready. Now, they would find out if it was enough. Sir, the Veskari are hailing us, the communications officer reported. Put them on screen. The view screen flickered. An alien face appeared, reptilian and cruel. War Prime Drassel, commander of the Veskari conquest fleet. His scales were dark red, marked with battle scars. His eyes, all four of them, studied Tay with what might have been amusement. Human commander, Draxel said, his voice like grinding stones. We are here for your surrender. Power down your weapons. Prepare to be boarded. Your people will be processed according to Veskari law. Tay stood straight. We don't surrender. Draxel's mouth opened, showing rows of sharp teeth. A laugh. Your Galactic Council said you would say this. They were right. You humans are brave and stupid. His expression hardened. Watch what happens to brave and stupid species. The transmission ended. A moment later, 3 Council evacuation ships exploded. Draxel had targeted them first, destroying civilian transports just to make a point. Thousands of lives gone in an instant. The other Council ships scattered, desperately jumping the faster-than-light speeds. Those were civilian ships, Helwan whispered, her voice shaking with rage. I know, Tay said quietly. They want us angry. They want us to make mistakes. He took a deep breath and touched his communication panel. All ships, this is Commander Tay. Remember the plan. Hold discipline. Captain Jin, you're clear to launch. On the starboard side of the fleet, fighter bay doors opened. 200 small ships emerged, their engines flaring bright in the darkness of space. They looked tiny compared to the Veskari warships. Insects flying toward giants dotted the lead fighter. Captain Jin checked his instruments one last time. Behind him flew his best pilots. They all knew what this mission was. They all knew most of them would not return. But they flew anyway, because someone had to go first. Someone had to make the enemy look the wrong way. All wings, this is Jin. Stay tight. Don't engage their warships. Just deliver the packages and get out. Remember, we're not here to win. We're here to confuse them. His pilots acknowledged. The fighter formation accelerated, heading straight for the center of the Veskari fleet. On Draxel's flagship, tactical officers reported the approaching fighters. Draxel watched them come, his amusement growing. 200 small ships against my fleet. This is the human plan? Pathetic. Weapons. Destroy them. Energy beams lanced out from Veskari warships. The first wave of human fighters exploded. 10 gone. 20. 30. But the rest kept coming, weaving through the fire. Jin's hands danced over his controls. A Veskari beam passed close enough to heat his cockpit, but he didn't slow down. Now, Jin shouted. Release the drones. Each fighter opened its cargo bay. Thousands of small objects scattered into space, metallic spheres no bigger than a human fist. They spread throughout the Veskari formation like seeds in the wind. The Veskari targeting systems tracked them, but dismissed them as non-threatening. Just debris. Just garbage. Then the drones activated. Electromagnetic pulses erupted from each drone, cascading in carefully programmed patterns. The pulses were harmless to ships and shields, but they created massive interference. Veskari sensors went crazy, showing phantom targets and ghost images. Communication between ships became garbled. Weapon targeting systems struggled to lock on. What is this? Draxel demanded. Clear those sensors. But the drones were designed by humans who spent decades mining asteroids in the harshest conditions. They were tough and redundant and annoying. Every time the Veskari destroyed one, two more activated. The electromagnetic storm grew worse. Sir, 12 cargo vessels approaching at high speed, a Veskari tactical officer reported. They're unmanned. The officer never finished. Chief Engineer Wu's modified cargo ships accelerated through the confusion. Their engines pushed far beyond safe limits. The Veskari, still trying to clear their sensors, reacted too slowly. They destroyed 6 of the cargo ships before they reached firing range. The remaining 6 detonated their gravity. Collapse missiles. Space itself screamed. Reality tore. The missiles created rifts in the fabric of space-time, temporary wounds in the universe that pulled at everything nearby. Veskari shields, designed to stop energy and matter, were useless against an attack on space itself. 27 warships simply ceased to exist, torn apart at the molecular level. Another 43 suffered massive damage as the rifts collapsed. Their hulls crumpled like paper in an invisible fist. The electromagnetic storm from the drones made it impossible for other Veskari ships to see clearly what had happened. All they knew was that 70 of their vessels had gone dark in seconds. Draxel stared at his displays in shock. What kind of weapon was that? Unknown, War Prime. Our databases have no record of such technology. On the Defiant, Tay watched the results of the first strike. They had hurt the enemy. Really hurt them. But the cost had been terrible. Jin's fighters were being systematically hunted down. Only 47 remained out of 200. The modified cargo ships were all gone. And the Veskari fleet, though bloodied, was still overwhelmingly powerful. 777 warships remained combat-ready. And now they were very, very angry. They're reforming, Hawan reported. She sounded tired. The electromagnetic interference is fading. They'll have clear sensors in about 5 minutes. How many of Jin's fighters made it out? 47 confirmed. They're trying to regroup near the moon. Tay did quick calculations in his head. The gravity missiles had worked better than expected. But it wasn't enough. Not nearly enough. They had bought themselves some time and confusion, but the Veskari still had the overwhelming advantage. Quilks's voice came over the communication channel, panicked and desperate. Commander Tay, what have you done? You've only made them angry. Surrender now, before they destroy everything. There's still time to Tay cut the transmission. He opened the channel to Jin instead. Captain, can your fighters make it to New Sol? Jin's voice came back, rough with exhaustion. We can try, sir. Lost a lot of good people today. I know. Get your survivors to the colony. A1 will need every ship for the defense grid. Understood. Jin out. Tay looked at his tactical officer. Signal the fleet. All ships, begin retreat to New Sol. Make it look desperate. Make it look like we're running scared. Sir, we are running scared, the officer said. True, but we're running towards something, not away. That's the difference. Tay studied the display showing Draxel's fleet. The Veskari were recovering from their shock. Their formation was tightening. They would be coming soon. All ships, begin retreat, Tay ordered. Head for New Sol, maximum speed. Make them chase us. The human fleet turned and accelerated toward the colony world. Behind them, the Veskari fleet gave chase. Draxel stood on his bridge, watching the humans flee. His rage was cold and focused now. "They dare attack us?" he said quietly. "They dare damage my fleet? Follow them. I want them to watch as we destroy their colony. I want them to see everything they fought for turn to ash." The Veskari fleet pursued, eager for revenge. On the Defiant, High One looked at Tay with worry. "Sir, we hurt them, but not enough. We used our best surprise weapons. We've lost most of our fighters. What do we have left?" Tay smiled, and it was not a happy smile. "We have one more surprise, and a planet full of humans who are very angry about those civilian ships." He touched his communication panel. "Lieutenant Hay-1, signal New Sol. Tell them the enemy is coming. Tell them to prepare the grid." "Yes, sir." As the fleet raced toward the colony, Tay thought about the numbers. The calculations still said they would lose. The math still predicted defeat. But they had already done the impossible once today. They had hurt an enemy that was supposed to be invincible. Maybe they could do the impossible twice. Behind them, the Veskari fleet followed, falling into the trap without knowing it. New Sol hung in space like a jewel, its domed cities glowing against the dark rock of the planet. 2 million people lived there, most of them in the underground mining facilities that had been converted into homes. It was not a beautiful world. It was cold and harsh and unforgiving. But it was home. Lieutenant Hay-1 coordinated the defense from a bunker deep beneath the main city. Around her, dozens of technicians worked at control stations, each one connected to a different part of the planetary defense grid. Except it was not really a defense grid. Not in the traditional sense. "Status report," Ha-1 said, trying to keep her voice calm. A technician looked up from his station. "All magnetic accelerators are online and charged. The targeting computers are synced. Every major structure is connected to the network. We're ready. Civilian evacuation? Completed 10 minutes ago. Everyone is in the deep shelters. If the Veskari bombardment reaches the surface, they'll be protected by 300 meters of solid rock." Hay-1 nodded. She looked at the tactical display showing the approaching fleets. The human ships were running hard for the colony, their engines pushed to maximum. Behind them came the Veskari, their formation like a wave of death sweeping through space. They would arrive in 11 minutes. "This has to work," she whispered to herself. A communications officer called out, "Lieutenant, we have Captain Jin's fighters approaching. 47 ships requesting permission to land." "Negative. Tell them to take up position in orbit. We need every ship we have for the counterattack." "Yes, ma'am." On his fighter, Jin received the order and swore quietly. His pilots were exhausted. Their ships were damaged. They had already lost so many friends today. But orders were orders. He signaled his remaining fighters to form up around the colony's orbital space. "One more fight," he told his pilots. "Just one more, and then we can rest." War Prime Draxel watched the human colony grow larger on his view screen. His fleet had spread out, forming a wide net to prevent any escape. The humans were trapped now, their backs against their own world. It was almost sad how predictable they were. "Scan the colony," Draxel ordered. "Locate their planetary shields and defense platforms." His tactical officer worked quickly. Standard shield generators detected. Orbital defense cannons, outdated models. "Nothing that can threaten our fleet." Draxel nodded. It was as he expected. The humans had surprised him once with those strange weapons. But now he was alert. Now he was ready. There would be no more surprises. "Weapons range in 4 minutes, War Prime." "Good. When we enter range, target the colony directly. I want the humans to watch their home burn." Then we will destroy their fleet. The human fleet reached New Sol and took up defensive positions around the planet. The ships looked battered and desperate, many showing damage from the earlier battle. On the Defiant, Commander Tay stood on his bridge and watched the Vescari fleet approach. Distance? He asked. 3 minutes to weapons range, his tactical officer reported. Sir, they're spreading their formation. If they maintain that pattern, Haywan's targeting solution will be less effective. Tay considered this. The Vescari were being cautious now, not bunching up like before. That was smart. That would make the trap less devastating. But there was nothing he could do about it. The plan was in motion. Signal Lieutenant Haywan. Tell her to fire when ready. 2 minutes passed. The Vescari fleet entered orbit of New Sol, their massive ships darkening the sky above the domed cities. On his flagship, Draxel prepared to give the order to fire. This would be quick. This would be final dot. Then New Sol lit up like a star. Every major structure on the planet activated simultaneously. The skyscrapers, the transport tubes, the mining facilities built into the mountains. All of them were connected to massive magnetic accelerators, the same technology used for decades to launch ore into orbit. But now, they were launching something else. Solid metal slugs, each one weighing several tons, fired from hundreds of locations at once. The magnetic fields accelerated them to 15% of light speed in the span of seconds. They left the atmosphere as streaks of fire, climbing into space like arrows released from a giant's bow. There was no warning, no energy signature to detect, no time to react. The projectiles simply appeared, moving at relativistic velocities, and struck the Vescari fleet. The first salvo destroyed 68 ships outright. The kinetic energy was so immense that shields meant nothing. The slugs punched through holes like bullets through paper. Ships exploded or simply broke apart, their structures unable to withstand the impacts. Another 100 ships suffered critical damage. The Vescari formation, so carefully spread out, descended into chaos. Ships tried to scatter, but the magnetic accelerators were already recharging for a second salvo. On his flagship, Draxel gripped his command chair as the ship shook from a near miss. Return fire! Destroy those weapons. Vescari warships began firing on the planet, their energy beams tearing at the surface. But the magnetic accelerators were built into the mountains themselves, protected by solid rock. The beams carved craters in the landscape, but could not reach the weapons deep below. Second salvo, charging, Hawan reported from her bunker. 30 seconds to ready. Adjusting targeting for their new positions. Above her, the surface was being bombarded. The domed cities were under attack, but they had been evacuated. The magnetic accelerators continued to charge, their power cores drawing on the planet's geothermal energy. No fuel to run out. No ammunition to deplete. Just rock and energy and human engineering. Sir, we can't hold position like this, a Vescari officer shouted to Draxel. They're using the planet itself as a weapon. Draxel's tactical mind worked quickly. The humans had turned their colony into a fortress, one that could not be easily destroyed. But there was a weakness. The accelerators needed time to recharge. If he could close the distance before the next salvo, all ships full advance. Get close to their fleet. Force them to stop firing or risk hitting their own ships. The Vescari fleet accelerated toward the human vessels. It was a desperate move, but Draxel was right. The planetary weapons were too powerful. They needed to use the human fleet as cover. Tay saw the enemy fleet coming and understood immediately. All ships, pull back to minimum safe distance from the planet. A1, fire second salvo now. The second barrage launched before the Vescari could reach the human fleet. Another 70 ships destroyed or damaged. But the enemy was learning, adapting. They were spreading out vertically now, using three-dimensional space to make targeting harder. And they were getting closer. "They're going to force close combat," Tay's tactical officer said. "At this range, we can't use the planetary weapons without hitting our own ships." Tay nodded. This was expected. The gravity missiles had hurt them. The planetary railguns had hurt them even more. But the Viscari still had over 600 functional warships. The math was still against humanity. "Signal all ships," Tay said quietly. "Prepare for close engagement. Conventional weapons only. And tell HFY that after this, she needs to target very carefully. We're about to be in the middle of them." The human fleet turned to meet the Viscari charge. The two forces came together like storms colliding. Energy beams flashed across space. Missiles launched and detonated. Ships from both sides exploded in silent bursts of light. Captain Jin led his 47 fighters into the chaos, targeting Viscari command ships. His pilots were exhausted and running on nothing but determination. But they flew anyway, darting between the massive warships like mosquitoes attacking elephants in her bunker. HFY watched the battle unfold on her displays. The fleets were now so close together that she could not fire without risking human ships. She had to wait. Wait for an opening. Wait for a chance. The Viscari were still winning. Even with all their surprises, even with all their tricks, the humans were still losing the battle. For every Viscari ship destroyed, 2 human vessels were blown apart. The numbers were grinding down in the enemy's favor. Then Draxel made his mistake. His flagship charged forward, leading from the front, eager to crush the human commander personally. He moved ahead of his fleet, isolating himself in his rage and pride. And in doing so, he gave HFY the opening she needed. "Target lock on the Viscari flagship," a technician called out. "Clear line of fire." HFY did not hesitate. Fire. A single projectile launched from the largest accelerator on the planet. It climbed into orbit, accelerating faster than any previous shot. It crossed the distance in seconds, but Draxel saw it coming. At the last moment, he raised every shield his flagship had. The slug hit the shields and stopped, its kinetic energy absorbed by overlapping layers of defensive fields. "Is that your best?" Draxel laughed. He turned to his weapons officer. "Target the planet. Full power. Prepare the planet killer weapon. I'm going to crack this world in half." On the Defiant, Tay saw the energy buildup on the Viscari flagship. He knew what that signature meant. HFY's calculations appeared on his screen. 3 minutes until the weapon could fire. 5 minutes until the next railgun salvo was ready. They were out of time. Commander Tay stood on the bridge of the Defiant and made his decision. It was not a hard decision. He had known from the beginning that it might come to this. Sometimes winning required sacrifice. Sometimes the only way forward was to pay the price. "Open a channel," he said quietly. "All frequencies. I want everyone to hear this. The Viscari, the Galactic Council, every human ship in the system." His communications officer looked at him with sudden understanding and fear. "Sir, you can't. Open the channel." The officer obeyed. Tay took a breath and spoke, his voice calm and clear. "This is Commander Tay of the Earth Defense Fleet. War Prime Draxel, you calculated that we had 0 chance of victory. Your computers told you we would surrender or die. You were right about the numbers. You were right about our technology being inferior. You were right about almost everything." On his flagship, Draxel listened with satisfaction. Finally, the human was accepting reality. "Then you surrender?" "No," Tay said. "You forgot to calculate one thing. You forgot to ask what happens when humans decide the numbers don't matter. You forgot that we don't need a chance to win. We just need a reason to fight." He looked around his bridge at his crew. Young faces. Tired faces. Scared faces, but determined. Always determined. All human ships form up on the Defiant. "We're going in, sir. That's suicide," his tactical officer protested. "Yes," Tay agreed. "But their flagship is charging a planet-killer weapon. In 2 minutes, they'll destroy New Sol and everyone on it. We can't let that happen. So we're going to stop them." Lieutenant Hay-1's voice came over the communication channel from her bunker. "Commander, the next railgun salvo will be ready in 4 minutes. If you can buy us time." "We can't wait 4 minutes," Tay interrupted gently. "Chief Wu, divert all power from shields to engines. Everything. I want maximum speed." In the engine room, Chief Engineer Wu looked at his instruments with disbelief. "Sir, without shields we'll be torn apart." "I know. Do it anyway." Wu's hands moved across the controls. Around the fleet, human ships began to glow brighter as their engines burned at levels they were never designed to reach. The shield generators powered down. Every bit of energy was redirected to a single purpose. Speed Dot in her laboratory that had been converted to a combat station. Dr. Buddha suddenly understood what Tay was planning. She opened her own channel. "Commander, I have one more weapon. The digital warfare package I've been working on. If I can breach their command network." "Do it," Tay said. "Whatever you can do it now." Bizora's fingers flew across her keyboard. For weeks, she had been studying Viscari communication protocols, analyzing data from the border skirmishes, looking for weaknesses. Now she launched her attack, a cascade of code designed to find any crack in their systems. The human fleet accelerated toward the Viscari flagship, firing everything they had. Energy beams, missiles, kinetic rounds. The Viscari ships tried to block them, but Tay's fleet was moving too fast now, burning their engines beyond safety limits. Ships began to show structural damage from the stress, but they did not slow down. Captain Jin saw what was happening. He understood immediately. "All fighters on me. We're escorting the fleet in." His 47 remaining fighters formed up around the larger ships, their small guns firing at any Viscari vessel that tried to intercept. They were massively outnumbered, but they flew anyway, because that was what you did when your commander was leading a suicide run. You followed. War Prime Draxel watched the humans come and felt something he had not felt in decades: uncertainty. They should be retreating. They should be trying to save themselves. Instead, they were attacking directly, with no shields, burning their ships to reach him. What kind of species did this? Planet killer weapon at 80% charge, his weapons officer reported. "How long until the humans reach us?" 90 seconds, War Prime. Draxel calculated quickly. The weapon would fire before the humans arrived. But barely. And these insane humans were moving so fast that even if he fired every weapon on his flagship, he might not stop them all. All nearby ships intercept the human fleet. Destroy them. Viscari warships moved to block the humans. The space between the two forces filled with weapons fire. Human ships exploded, their unshielded hulls unable to take the punishment. The Defiant shook as energy beams carved into its armor. Explosions rippled across the hull. But Tay did not slow down. Structural integrity at 40%, his tactical officer reported, his voice shaking. "Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. "We're not going to make it, sir." "We're going to make it," Tay said with absolute certainty. In space, Captain Jin's fighters were dying. One by one, they were shot down as they tried to protect the larger ships. Jin watched his squadron disappear, each explosion a friend, a pilot he had trained with, flown with, laughed with. But he kept flying, kept shooting, kept clearing the path. Then his fighter took a direct hit. Alarms screamed. His canopy cracked. He had seconds before his ship exploded. "All fighters," Jin gasped into his radio. "Target the planet killer. Their flagship, the weapon mounting on the front. Focus everything there. The 15 remaining human fighters turned as one and dove toward the Veskari flagship. They were out of missiles. Their energy weapons were nearly depleted. But they had one thing left: themselves. "This is for Earth," Jin whispered. He aimed his fighter at the massive weapon array on Draxel's flagship and pushed his engine to maximum. His 14 remaining pilots followed him. 15 fighters traveling at maximum speed hit the planet killer weapon. The explosions were small compared to the size of the flagship, but they were precisely targeted. The weapon array crumpled. Energy feedback rippled through the system. The charge that had built up to 90% suddenly became unstable. "Shut it down," Draxel screamed. "Shut down the planet killer before it." The weapon exploded, but not outward. The unstable energy tore into the flagship itself, ripping through internal systems. The ship shuddered. Shields flickered. And for just a moment, the mighty Veskari flagship was vulnerable. In her bunker, Dr. Butter felt her digital attack finally breach the Veskari network. She was in. She uploaded her payload, the file she had prepared for exactly this moment. Not a virus. Not a weapon. Just information. Every battle where humans had faced extinction and survived. Every last stand. Every impossible victory. Every time someone said humans would lose and humans said, "Watch us anyway." The entire military history of humanity, compressed into a single data package, uploaded into the Veskari command system, on his flagship. Draxel's screens filled with images. Thermopylae, the Alamo, Stalingrad, Midway, Ia Drang. Battles he had never heard of. Species he had dismissed as weak. And in every image, humans refusing to surrender. Humans fighting when the numbers said they should die. Humans winning when mathematics said they could not. For the first time, Draxel understood what he was really fighting. The Defiant reached the Veskari flagship. Tay's ship was burning, breaking apart, held together by nothing but momentum and determination. It crashed into the flagship's bridge, both vessels colliding at speeds that turned metal into plasma. The explosion was massive. Both ships detonated, their reactors overloading, their ammunition cooking off. The blast caught 3 nearby Veskari warships, destroying them as well. In the silence that followed, the Veskari fleet found itself without its commander, without its flagship, without its certainty of victory. They had lost over 500 ships to an enemy that should have been helpless. And the remaining humans, battered and broken, were still fighting. The Veskari second-in-command made a decision that no Veskari had made in 2 centuries. He ordered a retreat. The surviving Veskari ships turned and jumped to faster than light speed. They left the system, abandoning their conquest, running from an enemy they outnumbered and outgunned but could not defeat. On New Sol, Lieutenant Hay-1 watched them go. She sat in her command chair, tears running down her face. So many dead. So many sacrifices. The cost had been terrible. But they had won. Somehow, impossibly, they had won. Then her sensors picked up a signal. A rescue beacon. She traced it quickly, hardly daring to hope that an escape pod was drifting near the wreckage of the Defiant. Life signs inside. Weak, but present. Medical teams, emergency launch. Hay-1 ordered, her voice cracking. "I have survivors." 3 days later, Commander Tay woke up in a hospital bed. His body was wrapped in bandages. Every breath hurt. But he was alive. Somehow, against all odds, he was alive. Ho-1 stood beside his bed. She smiled through tears when she saw his eyes open. "Sir, you're awake. The colony?" Tay asked, his voice rough. "Safe. 2 million people alive because of you. The fleet? We lost 70% of our ships. But the Veskari lost more. They retreated, Commander. We won, Tay closed his eyes. So many dead. Chief Wu, who had made the impossible ships. Captain Jin, who had led his fighters knowing he would not return. Dr. Bohra had survived, but barely. The cost had been so high. The Galactic Council wants to speak with you, Ha-One said softly. Ambassador Quilks has been waiting. Send him in. The serpentine alien entered hesitantly. He looked at Tay with something like wonder. Commander, our quantum computers have been running new simulations. They're trying to understand how you won. But they can't. The numbers still say you should have lost.